Welcome, dear friends, to Going as a River, a Plum Village UK podcast. I'm Kev, a companion in the river today. In every episode, we share from the stream of Dharma talks from teachers in the UK, guided meditations, mindfulness songs and music, and heartfelt conversations, all rooted in the joyful, applied Buddhism of the Plum Village tradition. In today's episode, we join UK Dharma Teacher Vari McLuskie on the final day of the Joyfully Facilitating retreat at Shallowford, as she shows why sangha-building is our highest career and offers practical wisdom on cultivating interbeing, holding compassionate space, and sustaining ourselves and our sanghas in our journey of practice. Wherever this greeting finds you, please remember that every drop of water has a place in the river. We do not go alone. We go as a river.
So good morning, dear friends, online and in the room. It's Sunday, 26th of November, and we're on the final day of our Joyfully Facilitating retreat. And today I'm going to speak about some practicalities, but before that I'm going to speak about some of the broader items of sangha and sangha-building and facilitation, how we can support ourselves and the support there is for ourselves. So at yesterday's talk, Murray finished by telling us a short story from the time of the Buddha, when the Buddha said that sangha was the whole of the spiritual path. And both Thai and the Buddha have said that sangha building, of which facilitation is a key part, is our highest career. So I think that gives you an idea of how important these activities are, how important sangha is, how important sangha facilitation is. We probably don't think of something spiritual as being a career. We probably think of other things as being a career, but that's the way it's been translated into English at the moment. So I guess it's worthwhile thinking, why is it so important? Why is sangha building something that can be our highest career? And certainly in my experience, there's something about, I know Murray spoke yesterday about Thai setting up Plum Village to support himself, but I think it's also that we can, through being together and nourishing our togetherness, that we can touch into the sense of what does it mean to be human, because we can share our joys, we can share our difficulties and challenges with each other, and we see our shared humanity when we're in sangha together. But it can also nourish our sense of interconnectedness with all that is. When we do beautiful walking meditation outside, like those of us who are here at Shallowford managed to do yesterday, and I hope some of you online managed to do as well, we can walk knowing that we're in touch with Mother Earth, which is not only outside of us, but also inside of us, is in the bread we've been eating, is in many parts of our body. And we can feel the earth, we can feel the cold air as it's become this weekend on our face. We can see the colour of the sky, the leaves that are left on the trees, if there are any. And we can feel that sense of connectedness with nature, with Mother Earth. Some of us have been looking at the full moon, which has been very beautiful, our connectedness with the cosmos. And so being with Sangha helps us remember this so that we're less likely to be lost in feeling that we are an isolated individual. And much of the general culture in which we live does emphasize being an individual. So our Sangha helps us remember the importance of interbeing and goes in that opposite direction. Recently, Sister True Dedication talked about a Sangha being a community of resistance. Resistance to the main narrative in society of individualism, isolationism, and consumerism. That we want to, as a Sangha, tread gently on the earth to recognise our interbeing and to support each other on the path of love and understanding. And yesterday, Elizabeth offered us the 3 earth touchings. And the final of the 3 earth touchings tells us that we can touch the water nature in us. Often we think of ourselves as an individual, and the analogy for that is the wave. But if we look deeply, as we can in Sangha, we can see a deeper level of reality. We can see that deeper level of reality of the water nature that we all share. So in Sangha, we have the opportunity to stop and calm ourselves. And then we have the opportunity to look deeply together into what it means to be human, how we're interconnected, and see that deeper level of reality. In talking about, I know one thing Murray said yesterday was that sometimes it can feel easier to do something yourself rather than work with others to do it. And that reminded me of an African saying that I quite like, which it says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And as a Sangha, we want to go far. We want to go far into our understanding of the Dharma, supporting each other. And that's why we try to notice if our impulse is to do it ourselves and want to be fast, and see if we can harmonise with others to go far. So where can we cultivate Sangha? It doesn't have to be just 2 evenings a month or 1 evening a week. We can cultivate Sangha in different places. And Murray spoke yesterday about, or maybe it was the day before, about bringing practice to his work life. And one of the things I did when I came back from my first retreat with Thai was I committed to myself that I was going to sit in meditation for 20 minutes every morning. And at that time, I was living in a place where there was French windows and that looked onto the garden, and I decided that's where I was going to meditate. And so every morning I would open the curtains, and through the French windows I could see 5 conifer trees at the end of the garden, and I'd sit down and I'd do my meditation. And after a while, I realised those 5 conifer trees were like my sangha because they were always there. Whenever I opened the curtains, it was like, you walk into the meditation hall and there's people already sitting, and that already makes you feel calm and supported in your practice. So for me, it was like I'm opening the curtains and already there are my friends sitting, offering me support as I go to sit on my cushion. So we can find sangha in many different places, and sangha with nature is something that I really value. Having the support of trees near and far. So these are ways that we can look at how do we nourish ourselves in terms of sangha and interconnectedness. I must admit, when I've tried to bring mindfulness practices and things like flower watering, mindful deep listening into my work life, but I must admit I've been a bit of an undercover person. I haven't overtly tried to do it. But some of the people I worked with said, "Oh, Vari, you do things very differently. What are you doing?" And then I share about mindfulness, and they asked me to share that with them. So some workplaces are more open to that than others. So we don't need to leave it at the door. We can be an undercover mindfulness practitioner where we practice, or if our work environment is different, we might be able to offer it differently there. And I know a number of you have, we all have family. we can offer our practice within a family. I think for me, one of the things, the practice of flower watering, of really recognising and not taking for granted the people around me, is really important. And I think that's important in our Plum Village Sangha, as well as in our family Sangha. So we can cultivate Sangha at home. And one thing that I work with as well is cultivating the Sangha inside of me, which means the different parts of myself try and cultivate that Sangha, because we know from some of the teachings that we can have a wounded child inside of us. And also I'm aware I have quite a strict, impatient parent voice inside of me that can kind of get a bit impatient with the wounded child. And, so trying to create harmony inside the different voices, the different parts of myself, is also helpful when I'm in a Plum Village Sangha with other facilitators, because I can recognise my own inner tension and maybe what the situation might be triggering in terms of me. So I know I have to go back and look after my own inner Sangha so that I can look after the external Sangha. And one of the things that I think is so wonderful in our practice is that we don't need to feel alone when we're offering facilitation in our Plum Village Sangha. Because, as it says in the Earth Touchings, we're part of a stream of life. We're part of the stream of life, or our ancestors and those that come after us. And I find that very supportive. And that stream of life is not just our blood ancestors, it's our spiritual ancestors as well. So sometimes I find it helpful to think I'm a channel for the wisdom of my blood ancestors and spiritual ancestors. And of course, we have the support of Mother Earth, of nature. Natalie offered us a lovely deep relaxation yesterday and reminded us that the earth is always there for us, holding, accepting us, being patient for us. And the Buddha invited the earth to be his witness at the time of his enlightenment. So we can call on those capabilities of the earth when we offer our facilitation. And we also know that we are part of the web of life that exists in this moment. So we're a representative of all that is when we offer our facilitation. So I think taking a few moments to maybe just stop and acknowledge that connectedness that you have before you offer facilitation could be something that you might want to experiment with to help that you generate that feeling of being connected and supported. So how do we facilitate? And we've heard a few times the bell garter, body, speech and mind in perfect oneness. I send my heart along with the bell, that the hearers may awaken from forgetfulness and find their true home. There's slightly different versions of the final sentence there, but we'll just use that one. So I think that what we want to do is try and be present as much as possible, our body, speech and mind, to be as one as much as we can. But I really like that image of sending my heart along with the bell. And I think that this is something we can bring to our facilitation. We don't need to be too much in our heads. We can really come from our heart and bring care and kindness to our sangha, to our facilitation, to ourselves if we're feeling nervous or anxious. So yes, really encouraging you to be gentle with yourself as you facilitate, and not expecting yourself to be perfect, and having a sense of kindness towards yourself, noticing perhaps if you want to feel critical about something, and seeing if you can bring kindness and care to that. I remember there was one time I was asked to sit on the bell when Sister Annabelle was giving a Dharma talk. And it was quite a big audience, there's about 50 people there, and they were all quite experienced practitioners. And it was not too long after my mum had died, and Sister Annabelle had asked me to offer the bell. And something happened. I think we sang a song just before she asked me to invite the bell, which reminded me of my mum. And so when I came to invite the bell, I wasn't very present. I was quite, I was feeling quite tender and upset. And as a result of that, I didn't, the way I invited the bell was extremely soft. It was a big bell like this one in front of Murray. And I heard that if the ideal when you have the three bells is that you want to have the same tone with each one. So I thought, well, I've started off soft, so I need to carry on soft. So I did that. So I did, and it didn't seem right, having done a soft one, to then try and, do a hard one afterwards. Anyway, so I did these three very soft bells. And I was still feeling quite upset. But then after I'd done it, I felt relieved because, I thought, I've done it anyway. And Sister Annabelle, she just took a few breaths and she asked me so kindly, she said, "Oh, Vari, please could you invite the bell again so everybody can hear it?" And I think everybody could have heard it, but it just wasn't right. But it was the way she said it so kindly. I didn't feel any sense of that I wasn't good enough or I was I'd messed up. It was just really a lot of kindness. And so I was fully there for that the next time that I invited the bell, which was then very beautiful. And But obviously I've never forgotten that time. For a lot of people, Sister Annabelle is next to Ty, in terms of the order of things. And obviously I didn't want to, if you like, mess up in front of Sister Annabelle. So I hope you can take that as license, that you don't have to be perfect. And that if you do feel that, you've not, you haven't invited the bell the way you want, maybe you can just take a pause and say, dear Sangha, I'm going to begin again. I'm going to offer again. So just really wanting to encourage you to, be kind to yourself, not expect perfection. Yes, and to offer kindness to yourself, because if we can role model that for ourselves, we give permission to people in the Sangha to also be able to, show the parts of themselves that they don't believe is perfect. And that's part of being in Sangha as well, to show our vulnerability. So I'm aware that some of you already are facilitators and some of you are moving towards that. But I just thought I'd share a bit about what I have experienced as the benefits of facilitation. What I'd say is facilitation helps me bring the best of myself, of my practice, to the Sangha. Because I have an aspiration to offer my best with kindness and care. I'm not setting high expectations, but I want to offer the best that I can in that moment. So I want to bring the mindfulness I can to the session that I'm facilitating. And I know that the situation calls me to bring my concentration to the situation. And when we have mindfulness and concentration, that can help give rise to insight for us. So I know when I'm going to be inviting the bell, I need to be, it's an opportunity to bring the most mindfulness I can in that moment, the most concentration I can in that moment, as well as the kindness and care for myself in that moment. So it feels to me like an invitation to bring my best practice. And from that, then I have gained many insights, which if I was kind of sitting as one of the Sangha, I might not feel that my concentration might not be so heightened. My mindfulness might be more distracted. So I think it's an invitation for us to step into the fullness of our practice when we facilitate. But it's also, okay if we're feeling we've got a lot of challenges in our life, and we say this is not the time for me to offer facilitation, and to ask for somebody else to offer. So I think also there's something about discerning where we are. Have we got the at that time or in the coming months, knowing what we've got going on, is this something we can commit to bringing mindfulness and concentration to? So I'm going to turn to a few practicalities, and I know that you've been enjoying some Dharma sharing here, and I'm aware that we've talked about a lot of different things about the bell practice, leading practice, but I'm aware that Dharma sharing is something where there can be some concerns for facilitators around that. So we've provided you with some, I think, very, very beautiful guidelines, which I hope you've all had a chance to have a look at, that we sent out beforehand. And obviously, when you have newcomers, it's really essential to share the what Dharma sharing is about for them, because it's quite different to sharing in other circles of life. So it's good to feel comfortable explaining that when you have newcomers coming to Sangha. And I think some of the key things about, obviously, it being non-judgmental and confidential, and that we want to bring our mindfulness practice to the sharing. So we want to listen mindfully with our full attention as much as we can, as well as when we speak, that we want to give our full attention to what we're saying. So in that sense, it is quite different from other forms of social, of discourse that we have in everyday life. And I think inviting people to take 3 breaths between contributions, so that we're not rushing in. And obviously, as facilitators, if we take our time, we can set the sort of set the atmosphere for the sharing. So if we can take our time with the bell, if we can take our time with the mindfulness practice before Dharma sharing, then that already sets, if you like, the pace of the Sangha, so that people know they don't need to rush to share, and they can take time to take some breaths. We can also use the bell to help give us a pause if somebody's shared something particularly moving, or if somebody's become particularly emotional about something. We can invite a sound of the bell to allow people to settle again after that situation. We can also use the bell to, if we have perhaps some more challenging situations. And I have to say, in my experience, there's mostly sanghas are very joyful and peaceful. It can be sometimes that a few sharings or people that come along that perhaps have a different energy when they arrive. And so this is an opportunity to use the bell as well when we have some people that perhaps are not totally understanding what Sangha is about. Certainly I've come across, in my experience of facilitation, some people, they've kind of bowed in and they've started talking about something that is not in a Dharma sharing way. And so then, as a facilitator, we have the opportunity to have a choice there. If the person becomes unaware of the time and is talking for rather a long time, then perhaps we can very kindly wake up the bell, and sometimes that's all it needs. You just wake up the bell, and they go, oh, oh yes, I'll finish now, and they'll bow out. So sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes you might like to invite the bell if somebody's a bit less conscious, and so that there's an opportunity for them to pause and kind of understand what's going on. Sometimes I have had to kind of say to somebody, can we just be aware of the time? And then usually they'll say, yes, I'll finish soon. Or so we can just be aware of these things. They might not happen at all in your experience, but it might just help you feel a bit more confident if you can think, if this happens, this is what I can do. So it helps you build your confidence about thinking, I know what to do if there's situations where somebody is perhaps become unaware of time for whatever reason, or is speaking in a way that is not in line with how we want to share in Dharma sharing. However, some people might do that and they might not go on for a long time. And so perhaps somebody shares, it's not really fully in the spirit of Dharma sharing. And what often I would do in that situation is at the end of the session, when we've completely finished the practice and we've done our final bells, and where we're getting ready to go home, I would just sort of ask them to have a quick word and just have a little chat with them about how are things going for them, and maybe then a little reminder about Dharma sharing. So not doing it in front of the whole group, but actually just trying to be discreet and having a little word with somebody, so that they don't feel, so self-conscious about it, and so on. So these are just sharing a bit of experience with you about, some of the challenges you might be a bit concerned about, and how perhaps we can try and, with kindness and our mindfulness practice, try and support individuals and the whole sangha through those situations. Actually, I was speaking to Arthur, and he had he shared with me that his sangha, when they put the reminders out about sangha meetings, will sometimes attach the guidelines of Dharma sharing. And I think that's actually quite a good idea that you might want to consider. Because we can always invite people to read them, in between sangha meetings if we're sending them out, so that people can refresh their memory about what Dharma sharing is about, as well as hearing facilitators say it, because different people absorb information differently. Some people are better reading something and that sticks with them, and other people can learn from other people speaking. So we can just acknowledge that and offer the information in different ways. I think another thing about Dharma sharing is that as a facilitator, we know that it's not a time for questions and answers, but sometimes, nevertheless, people will ask questions. And even if we say, you can ask a question, but we don't guarantee there'll be an answer, because people in everyday life do expect answers to questions, and we can feel there's that energy. And so I think we need to remind ourselves that as facilitators, we don't, we shouldn't feel the need to be pushed into feeling that we have to know answers or giving answers. Because sometimes when people ask a question, they already know the answer themselves. And just by articulating the question is already a help for them. But there may be situations where there is a genuine question that somebody has about something, and we might not know the answer. It could be to do with the Dharma or whatever. So it's very helpful to set up either to have a network of support of people maybe in your region, in your sangha, or coming to Dharma teachers like Murray and myself to, if there are questions that you feel are important for the sangha to have answers to, then to build a network where you feel you have some support. And I know Luan was asking for people to put what sanghas they came from, and we can share emails from everybody that's been on the retreat if everybody's happy with that. Because I know certainly in your Dharma sharing groups, I'm sure you've got to know people and had other conversations, and so that you can support each other as you go forward from this retreat, and share the joys and some of the challenges you're coming across. I think that's always really, really helpful, because somebody one sangha might come across a challenge first, and they can help other people be prepared if they share what they've done. So yeah, building a network of support, and not feeling that we need to answer questions, however much it might feel like there's an expectation that an answer is needed. And I think one of the things that we can find challenging, and I know I found it challenging at the beginning of when I started facilitating, is holding silence. So maybe everybody's done an initial weather report or something, and then there's an opportunity to do Dharma sharing, and then maybe nobody is sharing, and just sitting with that and holding that silence, and knowing that that's an opportunity for meditation, for things to settle, for the everyday life and the dispersion and distractions to settle in the sangha, and that it's not wrong if people aren't speaking. It's also an opportunity to process what needs to be processed in the silence and the stillness. So somebody shared that there's obviously been many difficult things happening in the world, and maybe we come to sangha and we feel we want to share our frustration, our anger, our fear about what's happening in the world. And maybe everybody is sharing that at first, and then we have a silence, and we might feel, as a facilitator, that feels difficult because a lot of people have offered, difficulties into the circle. But what we can do in that silence is have an opportunity, each of us supported together in the silence, to really bring mindfulness and care to the anger, the despair, the fear that we're feeling. So it's not like nothing's happening just because we're silent. We can hold the fullness of the silence for the sangha. And often, you might sit in silence for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and maybe as the facilitator mind on, right, thinking, oh, this is a long time, and you're starting to feel uncomfortable. But often, really beautiful sharings can come after we've held a long silence. So yeah, just wanting to invite you to sort of consider that, those of you who are moving towards facilitation, that these things, do happen, probably will happen in your sangha, and that's okay as well. We can be gentle and easy with ourselves when that happens. Maybe notice our habit energy, and and take care of our habit energy in that situation. In sangha, it can be really nice, especially if there's a team of you doing facilitation, to appreciate each other and what you contribute to the sangha. We call it flower watering. We all might have different practices we like, or we might share different readings from things maybe we're reading ourselves, or things or topics that speak to us, and they share in a particular way. So it's really a lovely thing to practice flower watering within our sangha, within the facilitator group that we have. So really encourage that practice, because that's the first stage of beginning anew. So if we have any misunderstandings in our sangha, the first step is to really look deeply and see what do we appreciate in the other person. And then also for us to express any regrets we might have, to see the role we might have played in any misunderstanding or difficulty. And then the third step is to express any hurt we might be we might be feeling or holding as a result of the interaction. And the purpose of beginning anew is just to listen deeply. We don't respond, we just listen deeply to the flower watering, to the expression of regrets, to the expression of hurt. Because we know already listening deeply can really help to transform a situation. So it's really helpful to have that in mind, that that's a tool that we can use, or a practice that we can use if there are difficulties in sangha. And in my experience, the sooner we can do that, if there is a difficulty, the better. We don't need to rush, but rather than trying to pretend everything's all right when perhaps it's not. So yeah, just a reminder that that's a lovely practice that we can practice with. I know sometimes people can feel that as a facilitator that they don't know enough about the Plum Village tradition. But I think we don't have to see ourselves as an expert when we facilitate. We're holding the space and we learn from each other. So I think it's good to recognise, perhaps if we feel we need to know more, we should know more. And again, be kind to that habit energy in us of perhaps striving for more. And to know, as Tai says, that we already have enough conditions. We already have enough conditions to be happy. We already have enough conditions to be present. And so we already have enough conditions to be able to facilitate a sangha. So please be aware if you're thinking, oh, I need to know more, and bring some kindness and mindfulness to that. And somebody shared with me as well that sometimes in sangha people can come holding deep distress, and that they feel they'd like to help more, but they don't know how. So again, that comes back to having a network, and being able to know that listening deeply and being able to have the sangha space, which is so different from other spaces in everyday life, already can help people transform that distress. So I'm going to talk now a little bit more about practical resources. We started that in response to one of the questions yesterday. We talked about how there's things on the app. They're always putting new things on the app. But there's definitely, as Kev told us yesterday, questions for a Zen master, and I did take a quick look at that. There's a lot of those there, and there's some very helpful titles there, I think. So I think that's a rich source of Dharma bites, if you like, short things for sangha. Another thing that somebody's told me about, I don't have a copy of, is a booklet. I don't know if anybody's got a copy of the booklet, the How to Enjoy Your Practice. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So have people seen this booklet? Okay. So it's a very good, we first produced this booklet, I think maybe in 2010 or something like that, for the Nottingham retreat where Tai was coming with about 40 monks and nuns. And we created this to give to everybody that was coming on the retreat. And it's really outlining the basic practices. So it's about practicing together, practicing with children, Plum Village songs, 5 mindfulness trainings, and so on. So I'm aware that in some sanghas, they have these booklets and they give them to newcomers so they can go away and, learn more from an easy booklet. Not everybody likes having physical booklets these days. But this is a good resource if that sounds like that would be something that would be helpful to your sangha. So just want to bring that to your attention. There are also helpful things in here for facilitators, some introductory notes. So again, it could be a good resource for yourselves as facilitators.
The bookshop.
Yeah, they're available from the bookshop.
£5.
Yeah, yeah. And this is the book that I was talking about yesterday, which has got good short readings at home in the world. Another thing that I think can be a rich source is some of these small books that there's quite a lot of, which are sort of some shorter and some larger quotes, but there's a whole series of them. I've got here How to See, How to Relax, How to Love. So if anybody wants to have a look at those, if you wanted to have a bit of a theme, you could look at taking some of the readings from there. One very, this is my third copy of the book. My first one fell to pieces because I used it so much, is The Blooming of a Lotus. So this has some beautiful guided meditations and so this, and there's a narrative explaining the meditation that you can also use to introduce to Sangha or summarise. So this is definitely, I think, something very, very helpful for facilitators. And then we used to have one volume of the chanting book, but it's now become two. And in these, you can get the 3 earth touchings, the latest 3 earth touchings, a deep relaxation text if you want to offer that to your sangha, and there's many sutras and chants and things like that. So I'll leave that out if you would like to have a look at that, the latest edition of that. But we also have online a very good resource which is called the Manual of Practice.
If you go to the Plum Village UK website, on the top menu is resources, and if you go to resources, you'll find the Manual of Practice, amongst other things. And Kev's got it up there on the screen now. You can see that there are a series of chapters, practice, teachings, ceremonies and practices, recitations and discourses, and information. And you can click on each of those and get it, quite detailed information about each of those things.
And just above that off as well are things about garters, many different garters, which can be nice to offer to Sangha ahead of different activities. So do take a look at that. And another resource is the Way Out is In podcast. I don't know if many people listen to that. Yeah. So maybe there's, a 10-minute or 5-minute part of that you might like to share in your Sangha. So there's a lot of resource out there to use. And I guess it's just identifying things that you feel most comfortable with and that work best for you and your Sangha. And so just wanting to finish by saying, that you're part of a larger Sangha. So if your Sangha is in Kendal, if your Sangha is in Kingston, wherever your Sangha is, you're not alone. You're part of the region, you're part of the UK-wide Sangha, and you're part of a global Sangha as well. So in the UK, we have over 100 different Sanghas. We are part of, obviously, all of the Plum Village family, including the monastics, including lay members. So we're a multifold Sangha. And, we are here for you. There's resources at those different levels. There's people that have committed to the 14 mindfulness trainings, order members, that can often offer support in local areas. People like Vari and myself, Dharma teachers, who can, with some notice, come and offer days of mindfulness or support in other ways. So just as you obviously will be heading back to where you live and your local sangha, just wanting to say you're part of a larger ecosystem. You're not alone, and we practice for each other. And so we're all connected. And one version, the monastics say, of having a brown jacket is it's an invitation. It says, "We're here for you." So please know that you have wider support. So I think I'll finish there. And Murray, maybe you want to add things, and we can have some questions.
Thank you for journeying with us today on Going as a River. If this episode nourished you, please share it with friends and subscribe on your favourite platform. You'll find upcoming retreats in the UK, local sanghas, and many resources at the website plumvillage.uk. Wherever your day takes you, may you go gently and in peace. Until next time, breathing and smiling, we can remember, we do not go alone. We go as a river.